the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation special. My name is Tim Albright, your host. Today we're going to talk about cabling, and not just any cabling, but our friends over at Windy City Wire have joined us. First and foremost, Rich Galgano. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
And also with us is Bill Stang, also from Windy City Wire. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here with you, Tim.
Rich, let's start with you on this. Kind of walk me through what brought you to starting Windy City Wire. What led you to starting the business in the first place?
What led me to start Windy City Wire 27 years ago was I saw that there was even back 27 years ago, hasn't changed much today, there was a lack of customer service. Customer service is a lost art. And I had seen what was going on in the marketplace back then, and I felt that I had a value proposition in my head and in my mind that I could translate and turn into a business. So ultimately, the main reason was I wanted to create the best wire and cable distribution company in the nation. And that's what really led me to go out on my own.
I was able to come up and take a tour of your facilities there in Bolingbrook, just outside of Chicago a couple months ago. Why is it important to you that your facility, that you guys take everything from the copper all the way on through? Why is that important for you to manufacture there in the outskirts of Chicago?
Well, I don't have to manufacture it in Chicago. I could manufacture it in Nashville or Dallas or Denver. This just happens to be my home currently. But I think the importance of it is you're seeing today. Who can get product? When you are reliant on a supply chain, thousands of miles away versus controlling the supply chain, look at the mess we're in. People waiting weeks and months for $5 sensors, and because you can't get a $5 sensor, you can't complete a project. So we have made a concerted effort to source all of our raw material here in the United States, whether it be wooden reels, corrugated cardboard boxes, tape, plastics, plenum compounds, everything that we utilize is sourced here. And that has enabled us to maintain unbelievable service levels in a time where people can't get product. So for me, it's having that extra layer of control, and so we can service our customers like nobody else. That is ultimately why we are manufacturing our own product.
Well, and talk about that for a second, because one of the aspects that I found really fascinating is the fact that and again, touring your facility is all the raw material, right? That you guys kind of bring in from various parts of the U.S. When you've done that, and it's taken you a number of years to get there, you said 27 years. How big of a lift was that over the course of the last 20 years to find the right suppliers, to make sure that you've built those relationships? And when you're talking to your customers and their customers, how important is that for them to make sure that everything is kind of built and sourced here in the U.S. to make sure that they do maintain that supply chain?
It's extremely important. And as far as, a heavy lift, I saw the perils of doing business offshore probably before anybody else, starting in around 2006. Huh. I saw more and more inferior product being shipped in from the Far East, and I didn't want anything to do with that. But prior to manufacturing our own cable, we went 12, 13 years actually having our product OEM'd. Now, the vast majority of our product was manufactured here in the United States by other manufacturers, but there were a handful of items that we felt that we had to bring in from overseas to be so-and-so competitive. The majority of those items were coaxial cables and that time Category 5 and Category 6 was just coming along.
Yeah.
But when you peeled back the onion, or in our case, peeled back the jacket, you'd look at this product and say, what the hell are they shipping us? And I made the decision, and it was a hard one because we had a domestic supply chain that we relied on to manufacture our goods, and you never know what's going to happen when you go to them and say, I'm buying a manufacturing company, and I'm going to do this because, one, I can do it a lot better than you do it, and two, you're not going to get the same level of business that you'd gotten from me in the past. So I bought a manufacturing company in 2007. We bought that plant. That plant probably had the capacity in today's dollars to maybe do $3.5 million a year in revenue. And today that plant could well produce north of 200 million.
Oh, wow.
So we've added, it does produce in excess of 200 million, and we still have plenty of capacity. We have plenty of equipment. The layout of the plant is exceptional. And as far as building relationships with our supply chain, I feel like we have some of the best people working in this company in the industry that know the importance, and it comes from the top down, the importance of transparency, being transparent with your supply chain, giving them access to our inventory levels so they know when we're low or when we have excess inventory, open dialogue. I found the more transparent you are with your supply chain and with your customers, the better off everybody will be. So we have great relationships, obviously with our customers, and just as important, we do with our supply chain. And we wouldn't have it any other way. You can't do business unless you focus on not just your customers, but your suppliers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing real quick, the thing that was remarkable to me about the plant, having it there, and this is from somebody who used to pull cable and cut my teeth soldering XLR cables. What was kind of the customization that you could do, and I could get into arguments with engineers all day long about on an XLR which one is hot and which one is ground and all that jazz, and typically it's red, black, and ground. You guys can customize. That was the thing that was kind of neat, was you guys can customize all these different colors depending on what the job required or what the consultant said or what anybody wanted. How has that specialization, how has that manufacturing plant that you bought more than 15 years ago now been able to help you in your responsiveness to your customers' needs and kind of some of their requirements?
Well, it's been beneficial for everybody, not just the customers, but for me and our shareholders and anybody that participates in this business. Just in having a manufacturing plant in and of itself doesn't mean you're going to have great service.
Yeah.
It's how that plant is set up, how it's designed to run, and the most important thing people need to understand. Wire is like manufacturing. It's like manufacturing any other widget. It's made up of components, okay? And we can talk about any type of cable, right? Those cable are going to be made of the same components. What may change? The color may change. The gauge size may change. There's really the only difference between an 18 gauge and a 14 gauge is the size of the copper, right? And in essence, they're going to be made up of inner wires, and those wires are going to be black, red, white, green, yellow, orange, purple, blue, whatever that color code is or whatever that customer needs. So we've made the decision that we're going to stock those components already done. We know we're going to use them. So for us, we can just pull off the shelf already made components, run them through a cabler, jacket them, cut them, and ship them to our customer. So it's how you run the plant, how you design the plant, and what expectations you set for yourself to fill those custom or those special orders.
All right, Bill, let's bring this over to you for a second. When it comes to when dealers look at cable providers, they are typically kind of set in their ways, right? I've got a certain cup of coffee or a certain type of coffee that I like. I buy it all the time. It's what I drink, right? Same thing with a lot of folks when they look at cable providers.
Right.
What are some of the hurdles that dealers look at when they look at switching between company A and company B when it comes to getting their cable?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. You're used to doing one thing the same way all the time, and there's a comfort level with knowing that you're not changing anything. So our job is to get people a little out of their comfort level sometimes. But I think obviously the relationships in this industry are strong. We all know that. So that's a big time roadblock, so that's, I think, the hardest thing to overcome. But I think with wire and cable, you've got to prove that you're different, right? You've got to prove that it's a sound business decision to do business with your organization. So, we've got to be able to tell our story. We have a very different approach, as you've seen. You've been in our building. You understand that. But we've got to be able to tell that with conviction and show that that there's little to no risk in making that change. Obviously, there isn't, and make people feel comfortable that we're going to do just as well as the other guy from a performance standpoint. But the things like the efficiency gains and things like that are going to far exceed anything they've been used to in the past.
One of the fascinating things that I've noticed over the years, and you mentioned this when we were visiting your facility up in Chicago, Bolingbrook, technically,
Yes.
is you guys don't sell wire, right? You don't sell cable. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly part of the recipe, right? That's the commodity that we sell. But I mean, it just like you said, I can't tell you how many times we've had people in our facility in Bolingbrook and taken a tour with us in the plant, and they've seen the systems, they've seen the raw materials, they've seen how the cable gets jacketed, they see how it gets, how we put a shield on there, they see how it's packaged, they see how it's distributed, they see how many robots we have working back there, and how I can't tell you how many times someone said, I had no idea this is what you guys do, right? So while we do certainly sell wire, it's the complete system that differentiates Windy City, from the packaging and the rack pack, from how it's deployed into the field, how we distribute, how many locations we have, 19 locations across the country, right? So really at that point, you're really selling a service and you're selling a solution that's going to reduce time, it's going to reduce headaches, and it's just going to make it easier for you to do business with us.
Rich, a question back to you here real quick. We talked about this. You've been doing this for over 25 years, I think 27 years. This company has grown pretty steadily over the last 27 years since you started. What's one area that you are most proud of Windy City Wire?
I would say the one thing that I am most proud of is that we've grown, and by the way, it's about a 23% compounded annual growth rate over 27 years. I'll have to throw that in there. Is the fact that we've not lost sight of our number one objective, and our number one objective has always been take care of the customer, and the customer will take care of you. I believe today our customer service levels are as good as they were when we were a $5 million company or a $10 million company, as we are today at, on our way to 300 plus million. So the focus on customer has not changed. And as soon as that changes, and hopefully it will never in this business, for our business, then you will always be successful. If you're not focused on the customer, you're focused on your bottom line, you're focused on some widget over here that doesn't mean anything, you are doomed to struggle or not grow as rapidly as you can grow. So it's just customer.
Let's talk about something else that you guys do, product that does help sell with the time and everything. And that's a product that I was introduced to that's called Smart Kits. Talk for a second about what exactly they are and how they help streamline an integration, especially when you look at the logistics of deploying 100 or 200 rooms.
Well, we got into the consumable business probably 4 or 5 years ago. One of the things in our approach is we want to be able to support everyone's, product needs, and that starts with the cable, but we learned quickly that we needed to have the connectors and the installation accessories and everything else that goes along with that that cable, connectors, and hardware list. And then the next step to that was folks came to us and said, wow, this is great. We're getting everything in one day, sometimes same day. You're delivering to our job sites in your vans. You guys have your stuff together. We think you could do this. And again, a lot of the things that we do, we don't dream this stuff up. Our customers come to us and say, we know you can accomplish this with us. So Smart Kits was an answer to the question is we want to reduce our spend on consumable parts. We want to eliminate waste on consumable parts, and we want to make it easier for procurement to order. So basically, Smart Kits, all it is we have a portal you log into. You can build kits of, if you have 50 rooms for your customer, and each room is 2 HDMIs, 4 faceplates, 4 brackets for each one of those faceplates, a patch cable, and a stereo mini cable, whatever it might be, all the small parts, right? You choose those parts, you choose your quantity, you tell us what you wanted to call it, and let's say that kit has 18 parts in it. You can order it under one part number that you create, and we build them, we label them, we put it in a fancy little box that can be combined with your rack packs, and that's what gets delivered to the job site, to yourself, to your own your own installers, or even your subcontracting partners.
So explain to someone if they're not familiar, not only do you have the convenience of having everything for each room in one box, what other components or what other aspects of a job help with the offset of cost? And some of these maybe, running to Lowe's, running to Home Depot, whichever, Ace, whatever your local hardware store is, the time savings for that, but also the cost savings for that as well.
Sure. I mean, again, all those components in one single box, and a big part of that is the labeling that goes on there. And these are the things we talk to even with the rack packs, right? You have to have good access to information, and the technicians need to be able to look on a box and identify quickly what it is so they can make a good decision in the field. The Smart Kits have the labeling on it. It shows you what the room is. It shows you what the contents are. You open up the box, you have exactly what's needed for that individual room, right? You don't get on job at the site and go, well, I'm short on, these 2 power cables, or I don't have the 2 J hooks I need. And you got to, like you said, you got to send someone out for that Home Depot run. So it just, it eliminates a lot of that time. And also, if you think about it, how this normally happens is a job comes up and you have an X number against your miscellaneous budget maybe, and you send out 100 HDMI cables to the job site. Maybe you only needed 50, so let us count those 50, put them in boxes that are clearly identified, and that's what you get.
Before we let you get out of here, you mentioned the fact that you guys have 19 locations. A number of those locations have Windy City Wire vans. You can deliver straight to a job site. How important are those 19 nationwide locations, and how do they help you service your customers, respond to the customers, but also get back to the point of you guys don't sell cable, you sell,
Right.
Customer service and logistics. So how do those 19 locations help you do that?
Yeah, and it's not just the locations, it's the inventory position too, right?
Mm.
Just this morning I had a conversation with someone here at Windy City that we've got $28 million in finished goods on the floor across the country in 19 locations. And that doesn't include raw materials, obviously, it's just finished goods. But again, going back to, experience, I can't tell you how many times we'll be in a meeting. I might be in a meeting somewhere and a guy I'm meeting with says, man, I really would have liked to known that you had 19 locations 2 weeks ago because I needed cable in Seattle and, I had it overnighted from my current vendor. And I looked up on my phone and said, hey, listen, those 2 items that you needed, I have 20,000 feet of that one and 40,000 feet of that one. It's on the floor there. So, that's the biggest differentiator is just being a logistics provider. Our widget happens to be wire and cable, but we stock a lot of it and we put it all over the place because those scenarios, they come up often and you got to be able to service.
Rich, I remember the first time I met you. This has been more than 10 years ago now. You were doing a presentation as a part of a commercial integrator summit. Not only did you have more energy than any man has a right in having, especially, But you talked about the fact that Windy City Wire can help with labor costs, and it struck me. It was one of those counterintuitive things for me, because at the time I was I was an integrator and working with the programming and helping with project management. Talk for a second about how cable, right? How Windy City Wire helps with labor costs, and how that helps integrators reduce their labor costs.
Well, the wire itself, for the most part, doesn't reduce labor. Okay, so and I always joke with people. So I don't sell wire. I sell a solution that greatly reduces your labor cost. And oh, by the way, the only way to get this savings is by buying wire. So okay, let's take a step back. You're an integrator. Okay, An integrator does what? They order material. Somebody orders it. Then it gets shipped to them. Sometimes it goes to their warehouse. Sometimes it goes right to the job site. That material has to be put away, stored somewhere, maybe stored in a warehouse, stored on the job site. If it's stored at the warehouse, then it has to be placed in a van or a truck, delivered to the job site. And someone has to take that off the van, bring it into the job site. They probably store it again. Then they decide what they need to pull that day. Pull. They get their wires. They set up their 3-4 boxes, because no one pulls one wire anymore at a time. They set up their 3-4 boxes. They pull it. They cut it. Then they got to go to their next pull. They got to break down that setup, move it to the next pull. Set it up, pull it, cut it, break it down. Move it, pull it, cut it, break it down. Move it, pull it, cut it, break it down. Now, when you take all of those transactions, okay, from ordering it, delivering it, putting it away, identifying it, what do those transactions cost you? An average box of wire might be $200, okay? The totality of those transactions far outweigh the price of the wire. So what we've done is we've recognized what the challenges are for the contractor. We also know that labor is the biggest challenge we all have today.
Yeah.
If you don't buy wire from Windy City Wire, your technician's output might be 1 million linear feet a year. That's all they can pull of wire and cable. But if they switch over to Windy City Wire, our goal is to get them to pull 1.5 million feet or even 2 million feet. And how do we do that? We do that because we attack all of those little things, which in total are big things that take up time. Yeah. You know, we identify every box. So you know what this item is right on the outside. No little labels, no confusion. We can actually commoditize your box with your logo and put your logo on the box for identification. The boxes are easier to lift. They're smaller in size than the standard product. They're uniform in height and depth, so when you stack them, they store easy. Then the beautiful thing is when you need to set up your wire pulls, you can utilize our rack pack system, which is it's a transportation system, it's a pulling system, it's an identification system, and you can go from pull to pull quicker, more efficiently than you can any other way. Our boxes never tangle, okay? If you have a job that takes 3-man to pull cable, now you can do it with 2, okay? If you have a job that takes 2-man, maybe you can do it with 1. Right there, that's how you go from 1 million feet of cable pulling to 2 million feet or 1.5 million. And it's safer. It's much safer than having to makeshift set up wire carts and ladders with pipes everywhere. We also added some enhanced features to the cable. We're the only company that I know of in the world that applies what we call Smart Wire Glide to the outside of the jacket. We polywater the cable in the manufacturing process, okay? We've had it tested by a university independent test, and it's been proven that our cable has up to 70% reduced pulling friction. So it's 70% easier to pull through J-hooks, bridle rings, conduits, less rub burn when you're pulling plastic cables side by side with each other. So I always tell people we know the system can't be wrong. Well over 1 billion linear feet of cable a year can't be wrong. Somebody is benefiting. Yeah. And then we have a saying here, Tim, and the saying is, you either take advantage of our system or it's going to take advantage of you. Because if you're not using it, your competitors are. Your competitors are more efficient. They're faster on their installations. They're more profitable, and they can do things that you can't do because you're pulling cable like a dinosaur and they're pulling cable like a human. So, I could go on for hours, and there's so much to talk about, but in a nutshell, everything we do is focused on reducing the transactional cost associated with pulling wire and cable, and there are a lot of them.
All right, thank you both so much. Rich Galgano from Windy City Wire, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
And also, Bill Stang, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
For Windy City, for more information about them, you can go to smartwire.com, smartwire.com. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Find programs like this and a host of others. All that and more at avnation.tv. And AVNation.